Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
UFC Noche is this weekend, Mexican Independence Day, and it's a big fight weekend, guys. If you like fights, this is the weekend, right? They represent Mexican, right? Those Mexican fighters over the years. So they always try to get some big fights. Now, this card's not that big of a card, but we got the Canelo Crawford, right? Canelo Crawford is going to be the highlight of this week. And we'll quickly discuss the Canelo Crawford fight, a little breakdown, a little pick as well. Something different for you guys. UFC Noche, not that big UFC Noche from last year, right? Last year, you guys remember, it was at the Sphere. The card was great. Besides the main event, right? Good main event, Silva versus Lopez, which we will talk about here shortly. It's not a great card, let's be honest. A couple other good fights, but nothing that you're excited about. And that's why they couldn't put this on pay-per-view, right? It's just going to be technically a fight night at the end of the day. I would have loved to see Yair Rodriguez versus Lopez. There's that bad blood, both Mexican. That would have been a huge fight. Yair didn't take it. Apparently they offered it, didn't take it. I would have, if I was the UFC, I would make Yair take it by giving him good payday because this fight would have been very intriguing. If you guys remember, these two were going at it for a while now. There were some issues, possibly in training camps before. There's bad blood, right? Silva, Lopez, no bad blood. Good fight, though. I can't knock this main event. Systemsportscapping.com or link.me/systemcapping for client opportunities. Support the system while we beat the books long term. You receive my personal plays via email, detailed write-ups, unit sizes, and more. UFC, PGA, and NFL currently handicapping. Busy time of the year for me, guys. It was a clean UFC Paris card for myself and clients, going 3-0, one of them being a 2-fight parlay. We continue to hit these 2-fight parlays, usually at very low price, minus 110 to plus whatever, right? Plus 200 it can go up to at times. This one was more of a juicy, little juice laid, minus 110, minus 115 on this 2-fight parlay, which is rare, but I did like it. Main event to go over 4.5 rounds, and Buskauskas on the other side. That hit very easily. Buskauskas retired Paul Craig, and the main event had no threat of ending at all. Shout out to Imavov, and that's why I stayed off the fight. If you guys remember in my breakdown on the fight, I thought Imavov was live to win the fight. I didn't want to bet against him because I have in the past and have been burnt. And I like the fight to go the distance and over in the rounds. That was my favorite play in this fight. And, Bahalo just didn't show up. I thought he would have some more success wrestling and trying to grapple because I do believe he had the advantage there, but he wasn't able to get the fight down to the ground. So if the fight stood on the feet, I expected Imavov to win the fight, and that's what happened. But when there were some unknowns, if Kyle was going to be able to get this fight down to the ground, that's why I stayed away, right? Because we saw what happened when it was just on the feet. Competitive fight, sure, but what did he win? 4 rounds to 1? So it really wasn't that competitive. Imav's the real deal. Is he going to get a title shot from that? Not going to say it was the best performance, but he handled a guy that was on the surge, that was undefeated, looking great. So, hey, I don't know. I think it's going to be between the RDA fight and Hernandez. I think winner of that probably will get a title shot. That's what I believe. So we'll see how that goes. Running nicely in the UFC, and to be honest, we usually are. We have a down month here or there in the UFC, but most months have been profitable. We just continue to beat up the books in the UFC market year after year. Let's talk the Canelo and Crawford fight. We'll talk a little bit of it. I am definitely going to be watching and excited to see how it goes. And I'm not 100% confident on a side, but we'll talk about that here. Canelo minus 180 versus Crawford plus 145. Two giants right out of the sport. I would have loved to see this fight maybe 2-3 years ago, but it wasn't going to happen, right? Turki Al-Sheikh had to come in and make this fight happen. Dana White had to come in and make this fight happen. Only way it was going to happen. It wouldn't have happened because these guys want too much money, right? Canelo's probably getting $100 million for this fight, right? So how can't you take it, right? Undefeated Crawford, 41-0, guys. 31 KOs. Canelo, 63, 2-2, 39 KOs. I expect this fight to go the distance. I have a hard time seeing a stoppage. Obviously, if there's a stoppage, it's coming from the Canelo side. Canelo stops Crawford due to landing maybe a big liver shot, maybe a big shot to the head. Maybe Crawford's added weight doesn't carry as well. That's the only way this fight stops, in my opinion. And it's possible. Later rounds, right? 10, 11, 12, maybe. But I have this fight going the distance. It's going to be my favorite play here. Fight goes the distance. And I'm going to lean Canelo to win. But there is a path for Crawford. The path for Crawford is the weight didn't affect him. He was able to handle the power shots from Canelo. And he was able to throw more than Canelo. We've seen in his previous fights, Canelo, he hasn't been throwing as much. He hasn't looked as good in his previous fights. Let's be honest. The last few fights hasn't looked great. Crawford hasn't been fighting a lot, right? He hasn't fought for a while. So how is that going to carry? There's a lot of unknowns on the Crawford side, in my opinion, right? How's the weight going to carry? He hasn't fought at this weight in a competitive fight. How is this going to carry over? There's question marks, right? So that's why I have to go with the least questions on the Canelo side. Take them by decision. You can improve that price. Again, there is a TKO KO possibility of a late stoppage. You know, you get burned there if you take the fight goes the distance and Canelo to win by decision. Sure. I think there's less odds that happens, though, from Canelo. So, yeah, I'm very excited for the fight. Again, I'm not sitting here and saying I'm some sort of boxing expert. Like, I do consider myself in the UFC betting market. Obviously, NFL, PGA, and other sports. But I do bet on boxing from time to time, right? Maybe about 10 client bets throughout my years, and we are profitable. This could make my client card if I can get... Now, I know the fight goes the distance. It's kind of chalky. I think minus 300. But you can fit that in a two-fight parlay. I may parlay it with like a UFC bet that I like or something like that. But and if I do have a smaller unit on Canelo by decision, it would be a very small unit. Probably won't make a client card, but may have a little side personal bet on it. We will see. But there's a lot of questions from Crawford, right? How is he going to move up? Is he going to be able to handle the big shots? He hasn't fought for a bit. A lot of question marks on his side. Would I be shocked if he wins? I wouldn't be shocked. So keep that in mind. Excited for this one. Let's get into the UFC card. Shop around, like I always say, guys. Shop around. Get the best market price out there. And this main event is juicy. And it's not an easy one to predict. But like always, we will put out a lean and my favorite play in the fight. Lopez, plus 187. There's some plus 200s out there. Shop around. When you start seeing Lopez plus 200, it's going to be hard to stay off it. But I do believe this is a little better matchup for Silva in a head-to-head than Lopez. Even though I do believe, obviously, Lopez could win this fight. I believe if they fought 10 times, Silva probably wins 6, maybe 7 times. So that's why I say a little value if you can get Lopez at plus 200 on that line. Mexican Independence Day, obviously, this is Lopez's day. Lopez, how is he going to react to this, fighting on his day? Crowd obviously being on his side. Silva obviously has some pressure to avoid going 0-3 fighting nerds in the last week. There is some pressure there as well. Lopez never been finished in the UFC. And that's what Silva does, right? He looks to finish fights. All his fights in the UFC have been finishes. 5 fights. He does have a deeper fight. I was going to say all his fights finish very quickly. He does have a late finish against Drew Dober in the 3rd round. Still hasn't gone a distance. And this is a 5-round fight, guys. So check mark for Lopez in the bigger fights. Obviously, resume. He's fought Volkanovski. He's fought Evil. That was his 2 losses when he stepped up to the top competition. But he has some nice wins as well, guys. Right? He beat Ortega. He's beat Dan Ige, Yusuf, and Sabatini. When you look at Silva's resume and his wins, it's very low-level guys besides I'm not going to say Drew Dober's a very low-level guy. I would say I'm in the mid-tier. And it took him a little longer, right? That went third round. But he beat Jourdain. He beat Dober, Baghdasaryan. And then Bryce Mitchell is his best win, obviously. Not a top-level guy. Mid-tier guy. But still a nice win. So I can't, knock him for that. And all 4 of those wins are not bad wins. They're all solid wins. Solid enough to mention. So it's not like Silva's beating cans. I do have to stress that. We saw what happened when the other fighting nerds stepped up in competition, right to the top of the top. Didn't play well. Is that this whole team? Right? That's worth mentioning because all 3 of those guys were looking great, right? But beating guys lesser competition. That's always worth stressing. And all you can say is, you beat who they put in front of you. I get that. But we do have to stress that, Lopez has fought the best guys in this division. Some losses, yes. But he's been there, done that. Will he learn from it? So 5 resume advantage for Lopez, 5-round experience advantage for Lopez. Fighting in front of his home crowd. Again, it's not in Mexico, right? It's in San Antonio. So I don't think that's going to factor much, to be honest. I can't say check the box there for Lopez. Only those 2. But let's look at the skill sets. And this is where I think, Silva wins. When I look at the skills and the stats, I do believe the matchup is better for Silva, right? He's going to have more striking volume. Better defense, according to the numbers. Better takedown defense. And averages more takedowns. And we know he has a submission game. We know Lopez is a very dangerous submission game, but Silva also does have a good submission game as well. Silva should land the bigger shots in the fight as well. I believe Lopez is just a better matchup. I believe Silva's just a better matchup when you look at the stats head-to-head. In most categories, he prevails. Both will have the pressure, though, like I mentioned. How will that play out? Like I mentioned, not an easy fight to break down. I'm going to lean Silva here. And I could see this fight ending. If it does end, I think it would be in the later rounds. It's not going to be, a Silva first round finish or 2. I could see it definitely going over the rounds, 3.5, 4.5. Fight goes the distance is live. But just because I haven't seen, let me be honest, Lopez has been finished before, but not in the UFC. So is Silva going to finish him, knock him out? It's possible. Volk did drop him, if I recall, but I think Lopez also did drop Volk. Keep this in mind, guys. It's hard for me to commit to a finish here. Very hard. It could happen, right? Silva he has that power. He has the tools to finish the fight. I just haven't seen Lopez get finished. So it's very difficult for me to commit to that. Right, he has shown good durability in his time. So over in the around would be a look for me. Lean Silva, not excited about it, not going to get my clients money. And fight goes the distance. You can get a good price out there, I'm sure. So that's something to look at here. We just haven't seen Silva go the 5 rounds. So if it gets into the 4th, 5th round, how will he look? Maybe he use a lot of energy to try to finish the fight early and Lopez survived, and that's what you would be scared about if you took the fight to go the distance, right? So, yeah, I'm not thrilled about this fight from a betting standpoint, but can't wait to watch it. I may actually stay away totally from this fight for client purposes. But like I said, leaning Silva, leaning over in rounds. Co-main Font minus 138 versus Martinez plus 110. This is a tricky one because the gatekeeper Font's taking this on short notice. Somewhat short notice, not that bad, but this was supposed to be another fight. We've seen Font in this very same situation. He was fighting Masamento in his last time out, another up-and-comer, and he beat him. This is the same type of situation. Martinez only one fight in the UFC against a very low-level guy in Simon Oliveira. And he also does have a win on the Contender Series. Font's been there, done that. We know that, right? And Martinez isn't a wrestler. Like we want to attack guys that can wrestle against Rob Font. Sign me up every day. Martinez is a kickboxer. So Font could just use his jab, win this fight. Very possible. Very possible, guys. Very possible. It's the same situation we saw in the last fight. And this is a lot to ask for Martinez as a younger fighter. Going to face a veteran, savvy, tough, durable Rob Font. Older now, yes. But this is a tough fight for Martinez, guys. He could pass the test. I'm not saying he can't win this fight. What I like in this fight is the over 2.5 rounds. Probably a back and forth striking battle that I can see going the distance or over in the 2.5 rounds. Lean Rob Font minus 130. The price is not bad. Martinez has to show me more before I can start betting him against a guy like Rob Font. You know, he could win this fight, sure. Then I'll just add it to the spreadsheet that look out for Martinez in his next fight. Bet Martinez in his next fight. He has passed the test. And I just probably lost a small unit because if I do bet Rob Font, it's not going to be a big unit. It could be a very close fight, split decision style fight. So yeah, best play for me in this fight is the over 2.5 rounds. Probably fight goes the distance as well. Should happen. Rafael Garcia plus 200 versus Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon minus 250. Just very difficult for me to back Jared Gordon at minus 250, even though I'm slightly leaning him value on Garcia. Gordon just kind of scrappy, finds ways to win fights, usually close decisions, right? Even though I think it was the last fight before he found a finish. This could be a sneaky good fight, close fight. Again, another fight like the over 2.5 rounds. Fight goes the distance. Another fight you want to look at that. The price is off, right? When I do my own lines, like you guys know I do. You know, I had Gordon minus 150. So minus 250 is just... Both guys, 2-1 last 3 fights. Both guys coming in, you know, relatively in good form. Garcia last time out beat Bichelle. Good win there, even though Bichelle, I do have him on the outs with the UFC. And he beat Guida, older Guida. So I can't say Garcia is beating, you know, top-level guys or even mid-tier guys at this point. When he fought a mid-tier guy, maybe slighter than mid-tier, Grant Dawson was able to beat Garcia. Garcia obviously fighting for Mexican Independence Day. That could help guys. It could put pressure on guys. I can't tell you that. I'm not in Garcia's head. For a Mexican fighter, though, you expect that help them, right? The crowd and that type of responsibility. But just from a skill standpoint, I think Gordon slightly edges Garcia. I think Garcia's path actually would be to wrestle. You know, Gordon, 62% takedown defense has shown that he can be taken down. I just don't expect Garcia to keep him there. If Garcia does get him down, he does have the wrestling advantage slightly. I don't expect him to keep Gordon down there. So I think Gordon does enough to win this fight. Again, not a fight I'll be betting a side on. Value of Garcia plus 200. I like the over 2.5 rounds. Fight goes the distance. Last one we'll talk about here because we did talk about the Canelo and Crawford fight. Will be a fairly decent fight. Again, a little rich in price. Gastelum minus 250 versus Stolfus plus 200. Again, guys, Stolfus live at plus 200. Again, Gastelum minus 250 at this point of his career is just, it's not something I can get to. Again, I had him minus 170 when I did my own lines. Yes, he should be favored. Yes, this is a big step down in competition for him. He's fighting usually the top guys. So he should win this fight. And I do believe the UFC is giving him this fight. Say, here's a win on your day. He's American, but he has a Mexican background, right? His losses in the last 5 have been against Sean Brady, Pfeiffer, Cannonier, guys. Right, Stolfus fighting much lower level guys. Now, Stolfus actually does have a grappling advantage, submission advantage. I don't know if he can get it down there. That's going to be the big question. He's not really known for his takedowns. Gastelum's going to have the striking advantage. You're going to be able to use that jab, better boxer. So if Gastelum keeps it standing, that's where he wins this fight. It's going to be the podcast play, Gastelum, to win this fight. I think the situation is good, but Stolfus is alive to win this fight. If Stolfus win this fight, I could say, you know, Gastelum's totally done. He could retire. I'm not going to say he'll retire. He'll probably want to leave with one big fight to end his career. But I don't know how much he has left, to be honest, Gaslam. Um, but I am going to bet him here. At least for podcast purposes, going to make my client card. It hasn't as of yet. It could make it there, but time will tell. That will do it, guys. That will do it. Again, I lean the over in rounds, and I'm not going to get there, though. Big fight weekend, guys. We got the UFC. We got the big boxing fight, and an NFL as well. College, if you watch college. MLB playoffs is around the corner. It's a great time to be alive as a sports fan. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy this card.